Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Living Astrology with Janet. It's time to grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back and relax while we chat about what is happening up in the sky above us today. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. It was a Mother's Day that was interesting. So much happened yesterday. It's amazing. Actually, it started Saturday evening and went on into Sunday. And even the weather was nice one minute, raining the next, nice one minute, raining the next. Typical spring, but not usually Mother's Day. Mother's Day for us is usually a decent day. And it was a decent day. And we had a great time sitting around a campfire and just sharing each other's company. It was fun. I hope everybody had as peaceful of a Mother's Day as I was able to have. Now, today, here we are at the full moon in Scorpio, a very powerful day indeed. This is no ordinary full moon. This is called the flower moon, which kind of embodies the sacred bloom of spring's deepening, right? It's the idea that spring is moving along and things are blossoming. And it's named because it's the time when the earth bursts into full blossom, at least in the northern hemisphere, maybe even in the southern hemisphere, as different things might bloom as they are moving into their autumn. And the moon invites us to participate in not just growth, but also revelation. Scorpio, revelation. And it's a time that has been sort of growing in the dark, right? What's been growing in the seeds beneath the soil, popping up and then bursting into bloom. And it's rising now to be seen and to be shared and to be surrendered. So in Scorpio, the flower moon blooms sort of beneath the surface. This is, the full moon getting ready to shine this very bright light on what's underneath. And it draws us inward to where truth really lives unspoken, right? Deep within you, deep within each one of us is this truth. And the emotions run deep during this period of time. It's the flowering of the unseen, you could say. And it's the transformation that happens when we face what we feel and when we release what we've been holding on to and when we trust that something is, or we trust what is ready to emerge. So the moon reflects our inner tides, and in Scorpio, she does so with mystery and she does so with power. And she asks some really pretty intense questions. What truth is ready to rise from deep within you, from the compost of your becoming? What's been seeded deep within that is coming to the surface? And what old emotional roots are ready to be plucked and pulled so that something new can be born or can bloom or blossom, right? It's great. So our jobs is to let the flower moon reveal what's been underneath, what's the sacred beneath the surface. And sometimes, we're I'm saying this is the sacred because it's the wisdom that we hold deep within. And sometimes we're very afraid to let that come up to the surface. And sometimes we're hesitant, let's say, to really put forth what it is that we know it's whose time has come, right? It's the timing that's correct, but we hold it down. And now, right, with the full moon, it's all coming up to be revealed. So the full moon today is 22.13 Scorpio. I'm actually going to show the chart here. Let me add this to the stage and I'll make this a little bigger so I can see it. All right. So here's our sun, and the sun in a fairly close conjunction to the planet Uranus, although this conjunction becomes exact later this week. And then we also have that sun and Uranus in Taurus, right? So we have Taurus at one end and we have the full moon at Scorpio at the other end. So it forms an opposition, right? Or an axis of opposition where there's tension. The full moon brings about some tension, the tension of something underneath that has to come up to the surface. And it brings Scorpio's signature intensity to play, right? We know Scorpio is a sign of intensity, and it spotlights what's buried deep within us or deep under the surface. What is it that we've, shoved under the rug? What is it that we don't want to look at, right? And there could be deep emotion. That could actually be intuitive knowing that has been, coming up to us that we've been afraid to do anything about. And this can also bring us to soul level transformation, right? And maybe happens today. It might have happened yesterday, the day before, and it may happen later on this week. But some kind of transformation is at work here. And Scorpio doesn't just feel this energy. It doesn't just cause us to have the emotion or to feel the feels. It penetrates deep within to us, deep within to our souls, and creates the space for us to let things come up to the light, right? That's its purpose. And it seeks to understand then what also is lying beneath, what is beyond appearances, right? What's beyond, just what we can see with our physical eyes, right? We're looking deeper. And the moon in Scorpio is opposing Taurus, right? Or the sun in Taurus right here. And the sun in Taurus, of course, is highlighting the classic tension between emotional depth and physical stability, right? Sun in Taurus, physical, earthy, practical, stable, stuck perhaps in a comfort zone, but not next to Uranus it's not, right? There's something kind of magical with the sun being so close to conjunction with Uranus during this full moon that's bringing something ready to burst, right? Something ready to jump out at us. And then of course the moon at the other end in Scorpio, making sure that it's something that's more lasting, that's something that's more impactful for each of us. And um, it's just not calm and easy either, because the conjunction to Uranus also brings us that electrified sense, right? Or that unexpected, um, the surprise, the shock, even of something, right, that comes up. And while the sun is applying to that conjunction to Uranus, meaning you'll notice everything in an astrology chart, lesson time, everything that is in an astrology chart moves around counterclockwise, right? Unless it's in retrograde or unless it's the nodes. The nodes move around clockwise and a retrograde planet moves around clockwise. So when you look at this chart, you see the sun is here at 22.13 and Uranus is at 26.58, I believe it is, although those numbers are so little. So what we are saying here is that the sun right now at the full moon is standing just a bit behind Uranus. So the term that we use in astrology is that the sun is applying to the conjunction with Uranus. All right. So you can tell by the numbers. You can also tell by the position that they are in, in order of the chart. But that's always a little bit deceptive because, the symbols take up space, and space might be more than the closeness of the two planets. So when we're looking at this, we say the sun is applying to Uranus, and that means we can expect at some point later this week an exact conjunction, although it doesn't happen today, but we still call it a conjunction because these are two very powerful star beings, right? Or archetypal energies. The sun being the star of our solar system, being the light of our identities and the pilot, if you will, of our lives, and Uranus being the sky god. This is where, ooh, I'm getting chills thinking about this one, because Uranus has always been considered the sky god from way back in mythology times. And as the sky god, he brings us information from the spirit side, right? From our higher selves. So it can be revelatory, it can be an epiphany, it can be that aha light bulb moment. It can also be shocking and it can also be transformational, right? Although he's not specific to transformation, what else does an epiphany do for us, right? It transforms something. And bringing these two together then at the full moon is a time for disclosure, right? What's being disclosed to you? What's coming out? All right. So while the sun then is applying to the conjunction with Uranus, it's turning up the volume, if you will, on insight. And remember, this is in human design happening at the gate of insight, right? These two little, well, Uranus isn't at the gate 43, but the sun is. And there's insight coming through. There's disruption. And perhaps there's an inner awakening that's happening. I'll have to trust that you guys know in your own lives what this is pointing to. So the moon is in Scorpio at 22.13 degrees. So find Scorpio in your astrology chart. This is what it looks like, an M with a tail, right? And it's emotional honesty here. It is intensity. It is release and even catharsis, right? Sometimes that, you open up something and you let the fear go or you let the anger go, and it feels cathartic, right? Healing in a very powerful way. And then the sun in Taurus up here at 22 degrees, grounded, stabilizing energy that's focused on security, values, self-worth, the senses, what we can see, hear, taste, touch, and actually have in our five senses. And then Uranus in Taurus, which is brings that tremor, that that feeling of disruption. The moon opposing, right? Moon is down here in opposition to Uranus and to the sun. And that's kind of bringing up the core essence of what it is that we are about to transform. And what are we feeling? What are we experiencing? What is the breakthrough in consciousness that we can expect, right? Because the moon rules the subconscious, right? What's being held in the unconscious or subconscious mind can break through into the conscious mind during this period of time. But you can also expect that that might cause a personal shakeup in some way or shape, maybe around what you value, maybe around your self-worth and how you've held yourself back from a feeling of low self-worth or low self-esteem, things like that. And now if we look at this from the human design perspective, let me exit this and bring up the human design of the time. Here we go. Now you should see the human design chart. Let me check in at StreamYard here for a moment. Okay, good. So as we look at the human design chart, we have the sun sitting here at the gate 43, while we have the no, sun is at 23, excuse me. Thought I had that backwards. The sun is at 23 while the earth is at 43. And the moon here is in a conjunction with the earth. So the moon and the earth are both sitting at the gate 23, which can, sorry, 43. Oh my God, I'm so confused this morning. Must be a Mercury moment. Mercury nod off. So the moon is at gate 43 along with the earth. Got it? And this is called the gate of insight, and it is sitting at the ajna. So while we have this breakthrough moment that is potentially coming up, we have a breakthrough in our inner knowing. It's not just a breakthrough that we see in our outer lives, although it will be maybe impacting our outer lives. It's really a breakthrough that's happening from within. And you may feel a truth within before you can articulate it, before you can put words to it. But then the sun, and it's sitting here at the gate 23, which is called the gate of transmission or assimilation in traditional human design, and it's on the throat center. And this is the urge that we get to simplify the truth and to speak our insight, right? So the 43 is generating, this intuitive knowing. It's coming in, it's wanting to be spoken, but you're probably not quite sure how to get that into words. So it takes some time for us to understand what it is that we want to say so that we can actually say it in a way that people will get. Now, Uranus interestingly enough, right here at the gate 8. This is called the gate of contribution, also on the throat center. So and the throat center in human design is the center for communication, but also manifestation, bringing something that you've spoken into life, bringing it into creation. So, what we see typically with the gate 8 is it awakens this need within us to be authentically seen for our contribution, for our part, the role that we're playing, for the unique impact that each one of us has on our lives, because we're here to contribute. But we're only here to contribute as ourselves, as you, right? You can't show up as someone else. You have to show up as you. So Uranus here in the gate 8 is almost this precursor, because later in the week, the sun, sitting now at 23, moves to the gate 8, right? The gate 8. So we are moving this transmission, this ability to articulate the insight that the moon is generating for us at this point, and we bring it into a state of contribution. We're bringing it to life, right? Breathing it into life. So that need that we have maybe to try to articulate something, it may take us a little bit longer to get to that articulation point. But once we get there, it becomes a part of the unique contribution that we're here to make. Now, interesting, if we look at this gate 8, I'm going to look at all three of these gates through the gene keys, but if we look at the gate 8 through the gene keys for this moment, it is in the shadow, this energy of mediocrity, right? And just kind of this sort of half-hearted expression of your true self. And that could be from a fear. It can be from times where you've compromised yourself, right? Or compromised your gifts or dimmed your light, as it were, in order to feel like you fit in, that type of thing. In the gift, the gate 8 brings us style, your unique style, right? Your unique way of speaking, your unique way of sharing, your unique way of knowing, your unique insight, right? You're bringing it to life. And in its highest expression in the gene keys, it is exquisiteness, right? I love the gene keys because of the words, right? The words are so wonderful. So the gate 8, where Uranus is during this full moon, and also where the sun will be later this week, is taking us from mediocrity to exquisiteness by expressing our style, your unique style, right? Being you. Now, if we look here at the gate 23, this is where the sun is. It is complexity in its shadow. And remember, I said that this whole idea was about bringing insights and our knowledge or our wisdom into um, articulation. But in order to do that, we have to simplify the message, right? Because sometimes, I mean, I know all of you out there have probably had a moment where you've had some kind of brilliant insight, and then you try to tell someone else about that insight, and you just can't bring it out, at least not in the way that it was brilliant to you in your mind or in the insight itself, right? I've had this happen so many times, and then I'm trying to explain myself and I can't. I have to go like around, and around, and I still can't bring it right out because it wasn't in the right timing. But in the right timing, that complexity becomes simplified. And therein lies the gift of the gate 23 of simplicity. We did talk about this on Friday, by the way, but just a reminder. And then in its highest expression in the city, this is quintessence, right? The ability to just get right to the essence of something, right? The very heart of something. And then with the moon up here at the gate 43, in its lowest expression, the shadow of the gate 43 is deafness. La la la, I don't want to hear. La la la, I'm not paying attention. I'm too busy on my phone. That kind of thing, right? Deafness. In its gift, it is epiphany, right? The aha moment, the revelation. And of course, in the highest expression, it's revelation. So we have the path from deafness to revelation through epiphany. But in order to have the epiphany, you have to be present, right? You have to be aware. You have to be open. You have to hear. So the moon's opposition here to Uranus stirs our souls. And it's the insight that arrives suddenly, often emotionally. And with the sun closing in on Uranus this week, it's as if your voice is being prepared for a bold new truth, right? Something that will be jumping from you. All right. Let me stop sharing and go back and say good morning to everybody and make myself full screen. There we go. So, good morning, everybody, and welcome. This morning was a slow start. I only saw Julie out there. Good morning to you, Julie. And is it easy for me? Yes, I'll talk to you about that later, about resetting your password. Soul strategy, that's Narges. Good morning to you. Good morning, Joan. Good morning, Nicole Markham. It's good to have you join us. Good morning, Lo. Happy to see you. Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel, hello. I hope it stopped raining where you are so you could get some sunshine. Tom, good day, Astro Tribe. Good morning, Natasha. Good blessings for this moon phase to everyone. Christine, good morning. Debbie says, hit that magical like button. I love it. And the magical thumbs up button and hit the share. Share with your friends, your networks, your people that you know. Peggy, Ann, good morning. And Teddy, good morning. Willow Rose, good morning. It's been so emotional and heavy. My daughter and I are butting heads big time. So, Willow, I don't know if you know much about your astrology chart, but take a look at where that moon is, right? The moon in Scorpio can, if it's like perhaps in your fifth house, the fifth house would be the house of your children. Perhaps it's in your third house, the house of communication. And, maybe it's, kind of stirring the emotions. And you know how it is, emotions cloud words. It makes it easier to strike with words than to actually have a conversation with words. So that's why when we have a lot of emotional energy running, we have to sort of slow down the process so that we don't inadvertently hurt feelings, um, or be reactive instead of responsive to the situation. But there's always a way through. And good morning to Patty, too. It's good to see you, Patty. And Julie says, that's me with the brilliant insight I can't explain, right? Made even more difficult for some of us when we have Mercury retrograde in our charts, right? Because we get it on the inner planes. If you and I could sit down and have a conversation just on the inner planes, it would be fantabulous because I wouldn't really have to talk words. I wouldn't have to slow down my roll long enough to actually think about what it is I had to say. You would just tap in. It would be so much easier. But unfortunately, we live in a physical world where the voice creates. And so we have to slow it down in order to bring it up to the world. Good morning, Christine. She said there is a knowing that has no words. Absolutely. It's the I don't know how I know what I know, I just know. And it's valid in human design. We talk about this a lot because there are three distinct ways of knowing. One is logic, right? Where we have facts and figures and we can apply that information scientifically to the world and it works. The second way is intuition, gut instinct. And it comes from a very primal place within us, almost a survival place, one that we're in the process of elevating to a more thriving, flourishing place. The third is knowingness, where I don't know how I know, I just know. And all three are valid. There's not one that's better than the other, although in our physical world, we seem slanted more toward logic, right? It's easier to back up our knowing if we have facts, right? If we have information. And of course, that isn't all there is, right? There's a whole lot more for us to tap into. Good morning, Jolie. Good morning, Sharon Kay. Good morning to all of you out there behind the scenes that I don't see. And let's see, Lo says, OMG, I feel you, that bumping head. Yay, 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 right? Karen's Corner, good morning. Back in New Mexico from 2 fascinating months in Cali. My cousin's second and uncle's third Saturn returns. Holy moly, that's a lot, right? Shauna Taylor, good morning. She said, I am Soné, love from Jamaica. Good to have you with us this morning. Debbie says, I think it's a great day. Uh, RFK Jr. just made a deal that certain drugs in the USA will now be comparable to those in other countries. I hope you mean by price because it is ridiculous. My husband has to take a shot that he has to take once a week. So a 4-pack of this injection in our insurance costs $9,000. $9,000. That is bullshit ridiculous, don't you think? And it's becoming a much more common drug. It's not like it's, some kind of edge of your seat kind of drug. It's just ridiculous. Now, luckily, we don't have to pay that. Thank God for insurance. But that means the insurance rates go up because they're having to pay such exorbitant rates for something that is probably not needing to be that expensive. So I hope that works. Yeah, $9,000 and we pay 0. We pay 0, and I'll tell you why we pay 0. Because we have insurance through a marketplace like, ours is Blue Cross Blue Shield. They pay whatever they pay, their percentage that they pay. But we have a card because we have insurance with the drug manufacturer that gives it to us for 0. So they load this money on this card. The copay comes from the card. But without that, he would never be able to get that drug because how would you afford that? Our part would be at least 20% of $9,000. That's a lot. That's like $1,800 a month, just that in the drug. And I don't know. It just makes me mad, right? And ridiculous. Yes, in price, Debbie says. Okay, one of my shots is 1,500. Yeah, terrible. And Karen, her aunt passed away. We're sorry to hear about her passing, Karen. Sending love and support to you and your family. And Debbie says she has to pay full price. Ah, oh my goodness. See, that's just ridiculous. We're drowning in that. So it causes people, older people especially, when you get, onto a fixed income, to just have to choose between their medications or food or paying the bills. I mean, how can you how to can that's I mean, in all good conscience, how can we put people in that kind of a fix at that time of their lives when they're likely needing the medications more than they did when they were younger? Ah, drives me crazy. It's like it's so upside down. Everything in this world is so upside down sometimes. All right. All right, I'm off my soap stand. Let's talk about the moon again. Something I know more about. So I went looking this morning for a little extra something something to give to you about the full moon. And one of the things I like to do is to look at the Sabian symbols. And the Sabian symbols were done years and years ago, where a woman named Elise Wheeler sort of went into meditation and came back with a description of every degree of the zodiac. So 360 degrees of a zodiac wheel. And she came up with these. Different meanings for each degree. And then I think his name was Edward Edmund Mark Edward Jones. Ah, Edmund Jones put it together and created the Sabian symbols from it. And the Sabian symbol for the moon, it says, so there are these phrases or these sentences, and then we distill a key meaning from those sentences. So the Sabian symbol for the moon, which is the aha part of this duo, a rabbit metamorphoses into a nature spirit. And the key meaning, this symbol speaks to a magical transformation of instinct into intuition, a shift from fear or survival mode into spiritual awareness and playful trust in the unseen. It's a profound image of evolution, and something ordinary becomes extraordinary when attuned to the rhythms of nature and spirit. That's the Sabian symbol for the moon. Now, the interpretation then for the full moon means that the emotional intensity of Scorpio is really not just about the shadow, which we also experience usually the shadow first. It's about alchemizing that fear into faith, right? And It's the instinct into insight. We're kind of being invited to trust in the subtle forces that are guiding us through our transformation, the transformation of us personally, of our personal time, but also the transformation that we are moving through um, on the planet in the bigger, right? So the key here is to let your inner sensitivity become a strength and not a weakness, right? We're all sensing, these changes to come. Then if we look at the Sabian symbol for the sun, at 23 Taurus, we have a jewelry shop filled with the most magnificent jewels. I love it. This degree points to inner wealth, value, and radiant potential. So it asks you to recognize the treasures already within you, the gifts that you have maybe overlooked within yourself. And it also carries a note of discernment and refinement. True value isn't flashy, it's resonant. Hmm. So that's interesting, right? So if we put that interpretation into this full moon, as the sun is sort of illuminating our sense of worth and our stability, our keen confidence in ourselves and in what it is that we can present, you're reminded that your voice and your values and your presence are the jewels, right? Those are the jewels that you have to give. Are you treating them as such? Um, so you're being asked to reclaim your authentic self, and that those are the jewels, right? The jewels. And you're here to share it in a way that reflects your inner self, right? Your inner being, not the way that everybody else would, but the way that you're here to express that. So if we look the axis, right, of the full moon, right, across Taurus and Scorpio, it tells a story of transformation and self-worth. That's the story of this moon, from instinctual survival to spiritual embodiment, and from hidden fear to radiant contribution, right? Getting out of the fear zone. And then from undervaluing your voice to recognizing its true jewel like brilliance, right? The jewels that are magnificent. I think it was magnificent jewels, right? So, very interesting time for this moon to come up, right? Especially in a week where the sun is about to conjunct Uranus and actually is, for all intents and purposes, conjunct a planet that awakens, right? What's awakening within you? Okay. So let's go on to Mercury in Taurus. That is in a square today to Pluto, Pluto in Aquarius. And so here we have voice meets power, right? Your voice meeting power, and also where truth meets resistance. Think about that, where truth meets resistance, where we're somewhat afraid to speak our truth. And there's a lot of reasons why that might be. And Mercury brings in Taurus the practical, steady communication, but it's locked in this tight square with Pluto. They're in an exact square today, 3 degrees, 3 degrees, right? And Pluto's the planet of transformation, the shadow of which is, locking up our power, right? Or holding ourselves back. And so this kind of is like a mental alchemy that's happening, right? I love it when I can use that word in a sentence, alchemy and alchemizing. I already used that one today too. So my friend Vanessa, if you're out there listening, listen. She has alchemized in a lot of her success codex, and we've just gone through 8 weeks of that. um, Alchemy is one of those things that it's difficult to understand, but alchemy is really about how we take a base energy, a base metal, a base something, instinct, and we turn it into gold, right? Metaphorically, and we transform into something new, something brilliant, something magical, something jewel like and magnificent. But this is pressure with Mercury. This is pressure because of its connection to the planet Pluto. And what that can look like for some of us is obsessive thought, maybe control issues, and a battle between what's safe to say versus what must be said. So, you know how it is right now. At least, like if I was a politician at this point in time, it's a difficult thing to merge when you have a message that must be delivered, but you don't really want to deliver it, right? Because you know it's going to upset the apple cart. You know it's going to land and create chaos or something to that. And so then we're in our own personal lives, we may not be out there at that level and having to have, that level of a conversation, but what kind of conversation might Karen, for example, I think it was Karen that was having an issue with her, between her and her daughter. Was that you, Karen, or was that someone else? I'm trying to scroll back and see who that was that said that, but whoever that was, right? There's a difficult truth maybe that is coming out. Maybe it's one that you need to hear, but also it could be one that you need to say. So lots of stuff coming up that way. And it can create, if we can go through the fear and if we can move it to a level of response versus reactivity, then we might have a conversation that creates a turning point within our relationships, right? And it could also be a realization about how your voice has been silenced or misused, right? How has your own voice been impacted? And if we look at the gates that Mercury and Pluto are both in the human design, we have another little interesting thing to talk about. So I'm going to go back to my presentation screen here and show it to you because I don't think I marked it in the first one. Plus, I left it on the website so I can actually use it this morning. So Mercury is sitting down here on the sacral in the gate 27, the gate of nourishing. And are your words rooted in care and empathy or compassion? And what are you feeding with your voice? Are you feeding more fear or are you feeding it life? Right? Those are the two choices. So, what are we nourishing with? And this nourishing here has the impact on others, right? Our outer world. And then Pluto is down here at the gate 41, and the 41 is called the gate of imagination. And it is a start codon. If we look at it, if we were to look at this whole template as your DNA, right, just in a different style, it's not the double helix. Um, the gate 41 is a start codon. It tells everything to start. Start making that protein, start making that enzyme, start making this mutation, right? Whatever it is, it's the start codon and it starts in imagination. And here we have the seed of future potential with Mercury. What's possible? The shadow is fantasy or avoidance, where we're avoiding the truth of the imagination. But the gift is in creating a new emotional vision. This connects over here to the solar plexus. So the connection it would make is through the gate of desire, of wanting and needing something to be created, and that's where the emotion comes in here. So if we look at these in the gene keys, the gate 27 in its lowest aspect is selfishness. I'm only doing it for myself, right? In its gift, it's altruism, right? So it's raising it up, right? Becoming something of a gift to others. And in its highest expression, it's selflessness. So we say in the gene keys that we're moving from selfishness to selflessness via altruism, right? So we're walking that path. If we look at Pluto down here at the gate 41, the lowest expression is fantasy. And you know what fantasy is, right? It's imagination that's unexpressed. It's not brought into the physical world. And in the gift, it's anticipation, the feeling that we have of excitement as something that has been in our imagination becomes to begins to coalesce into the real world, right? Brings out into the real world. And the gate 41 in its highest is called emanation, where it's just this pure light that emanates from you, right? So we're walking this path of fantasy to emanation via anticipation. So this square between Mercury and Pluto sort of cracks open our inner narrative, right? And our inner awareness of what it is that we want to bring out. And it becomes sort of speaking from or can we speak from truth and still offer nourishment, right? Like sorry to go back to the person with this um, daughter issue, or conversation with your daughter. Um, it is, can you stop long enough to say what needs to be said, but in a nourishing way, right? Can you stop rationalizing away your power and to begin imagining something better, right? If you can't imagine a better relationship, then it can't happen. Now, that's not to say that you have to go after people who are, have that you're having an argument with, or that there's, a miscommunication going on. But it does say when the opportunity arises to do so with speaking from truth, right? But also offering it in a nourishing way and not in a an angry way. Hmm. Not always easy to do either. I get that. Uh, All right. So, a powerful emotional and energetic reset is available for us this week. It's underway now, right? That full moon happens at, I had my chart here somewhere. That full moon happens at 12:57 p.m. in Washington, D.C. So that is 9:57 a.m. for us on the West Coast and all the points in between. So it's imminent, right? It's an imminent full moon for all of us. And it can come along with sudden insight and emotional waves or a truth revealing itself. And it may surface as creative energy. It may surface as a Uranian aha moment, as Uranus is actually activating the moon and the moon activating Uranus and the sun during this period of time. And the sun's approach to Uranus can be a call to enlightenment, a call to realignment, a call to shake off the old expectations and reclaim your voice, reclaim who you are, your true self. And Mercury and Pluto in the square sort of demand honest, empowering communication, and especially about how you give, care, and dream, right? The 41 about fantasy and imagination and creative energy, the start codon of it all. And Mercury in the let's care for one another energy. So, if you want some reflection questions for the full moon, what truth are you beginning to feel, even if you can't yet explain it? Right? I'm not expecting that we can actually put words to it yet. It's a little delayed for the words. But where are you being called to contribute yourself, your gifts more authentically to the world? And how can your voice this week be both powerful and nourishing? Right? Not necessarily an easy thing to do. All right. Now, also, any questions about any of that? Will was it you, Willow? Okay, good. Um, and I'm missing something here. Karen said it takes hitting bottom to get a humanity to restructure. And thanks to all, it was really mentioned because of my uncle and cousin both being in their Saturn returns. And that Saturn returns does make like for some interesting things to happen in our lives. And good morning, Asa. Good to have you out there. Let's do a quick sort of look ahead at the week's energies, because right now we have the sun and earth and the full moon all across that 2343 axis, or the 2343 channel in your human design, across the Taurus and Scorpio axis. But as we get to Thursday, the Human Design Week shifts, and it shifts to mirror sort of that Sun Uranus conjunction during this full moon, but in a more empowered and contributory way, because the Sun will move into that conjunction with Uranus at the gate 8, the gate of contribution. And then the Earth moving now away, or having moved, the moon having moved away from the Earth, moves us into the gate 14, which is called the gate of creation in human design, but is also a wonderful. I'm going to show. I'm going to share my screen again so I can show this. Um, it's also a wonderful word in the highest expression in the gene keys, one of my favorite words, which is bounteousness. And bounteousness, just what does that, conjure up in your mind's eye, right? So when we look at what comes next, we have the sun at the gate 8, which is also going to be on the throat center. So it's about what we speak to in the world. And the gate 14, which is on the sacral center, which is about what we do or who we are being, right? And on Thursday, when we move into this gate, there's a kind of meaningful energetic shift that happens here, and it's, this pairing of the sun and Uranus that make it more personal for us, that really bring more purpose driven contribution energy to the surface. Now, gate 8 on the throat center is going to be all about making your unique mark on the world. And it's the gate of creative contribution. Contribution being, just the short word here. And it's not through effort and it's not through conformity, it's through style, right? It's through you being the unique expression of you and authentic and being aligned with your message or your work or your beingness or your doingness. And your Uranus at this gate or Uranus has already been at this gate for a while. And he's been sort of electrifying this energy of breaking away from conformity, breaking down where we've just been performing and encouraging us to show up as the real person that you are, the real us. Will the real us stand up, please? And then the earth in the gate 14 is about it holds the frequency of prosperity. So it has to do with abundance, but prosperity through right alignment, right? It asks, where are you pouring your life force? What container are you pouring your life force into? And is it something that really reflects who you are at soul level? Does it reflect your soul design or something that just drains your power? Right. So the key themes are really about, bringing ourselves to our real power by contributing to the world that which is true from our soul's perspective, but then also doing so brings us prosperity. Right? This is sometimes we call the gate 14, working for money. This is a very money oriented because it could be if we traded for shells, then this would be very shell oriented, right? Because we'd be collecting shells. But on this planet, we use money as a way to exchange, as a medium of exchange. And so this is where we work for money. But money isn't the only way that we have of sharing things with others, right? We can share our time. We can exchange time. We can exchange um, things, right? You do that for me, and I'll give you this from my household, whatever, right? There are different ways of it, but the most common expression of the mediums of exchange on Earth is money. Okay, that's why we call it a gate of prosperity, or a gate of money. And it really is about, gaining prosperity by doing what you love, not compromising what you love in order to make money. It's kind of, they're locked together, right? When we look at the gene key themes, the gate 8, right here up on the throat center, is in its lowest expression mediocrity. I think we did talk about this. In the gift, its style, and in its highest, its exquisiteness. So we're moving from mediocrity to exquisiteness by being in our own style, living our own style. The gate 14, the gate 14 in its lowest is compromise, right? And not the good kind of compromise. This is where we give away ourselves, right? We conform, perhaps. We do what it is that others expect of us rather than living out our own highest ideals and dreams. And then in the gift, it becomes competence, where we really competently show up, living our true selves in the world. And in the highest, it brings bounty or bounteousness. And bounteousness is like the biggest word I can almost think of as for prosperity, right? For just bounty. It doesn't say just a bounty of money. It doesn't say that at all. It's a bounty of life, right? The bounty in life. So together, the gates that are going to make up the Human Design Week starting on Thursday lay the energetic groundwork for the Sun Uranus conjunction, a reawakening of your purpose, of what you are willing to contribute to the world, and what your aligned creations are all about. So it kind of forms your cosmic invitation, if you will, to step forward with your distinct voice, and to do so in a way that really isn't you letting go or compromising of your truth, right? You're stepping forward with your distinct voice, your distinct gifts, in a way that drives bounteousness towards you or attracts it towards you. And you're creating from the inside out, right? Authentically and abundantly. So it'll be a great week, a great energy to follow this full moon in Scorpio. Cool, right? So as the Scorpio moon rises here during the day for me, for all of us basically here, we don't see it necessarily. Plus, I have clouds. She whispers of the rabbit becoming spirit, right, in the Sabian symbols, of instinct transfigured into intuition, of fear melting into mystical presence. And you're not just surviving in this moment, you're shape shifting into something wiser, maybe wilder, and more attuned to the unseen rhythms, right? That your soul's rhythms. And across the sky, Taurus, the Taurus sun gazes down into this jewelry shop of magnificent jewels that each one of us hold, that each one of us has. The jewelry shop of the soul, let's say, reminding you that your gifts are not random. They're radiant, they're rare, they're unique, and they're refined by lifetimes, right? Not just this lifetime. And what you carry within is your treasure, and is a treasure to share with the world. So the full moon really asks, can you trust your transformation? Can you speak your truth like a jewel offered with reverence, with sacredness? Can you become what spirit has been shaping you into all along? Hmm. Let instinct then give way to insight, and let your worth shine like this golden jewel, this gem that's been hidden, that's maybe needing a little bit of dusting and being brought to the light, right? You bringing yourself to the world is you bringing in the light. All right. Questions. Okay, so Tom, question: Uranus at gate 8, open throat. How does this manifest? Well, let's go back to the chart for a moment so I can show what happens here. So present, and it was share screen. And there we go. Okay, so what Tom is saying is that he has an open throat center. And although right now, Tom, today and through the week up until Thursday, you actually have a defined throat center, as we all do, because the uh, sun, moon, earth combination here creates this channel, the 4323. So right now you do have a defined throat, albeit temporarily. So let's look at fast forward to Thursday, where we lose this connection of the 23, and we can empty this one as well because that won't be activated. And now we have the gate 8 and on an open throat center. So there, unless you have gate 1 defined, which is right here, you have a hanging gate, right? A hanging gate on an open throat would mean that what it is that you're here to contribute really depends on who it is that's in front of you, right? Are you in a group of musicians? I happen to know you're a musician. So if you're in a group of musicians, your contribution is going to be driven by what it is that you're doing within that group. If you're in a one-to-one conversation with someone, your communication, your contribution will be driven by the energies of the other person. So the open throat here means that the voice is being used in a very powerful way when it's being invited out of you. So your contribution being invited out of you based on being around others. And maybe even here with the gate, let's say you have an open throat. You said, what was the other thing you said about that? Open channel 8, Uranus at gate 8, open throat. How does this manifest? So it'll manifest with you having opportunities at time to make a contribution when you're around other people. If you're just in your house all day, and it's only you and the dogs and the cats and maybe Ainsley's at home, then it will work with her. But when you go out, it will work with you and around other people having a contribution to make. All right. Does that make sense? Now, if some of you are out there and you have the gate 8 defined already, let's say you have Mercury at the gate 8 and you're someone who is used to contributing your voice to something, then now you will have the sun and the planet Uranus at gate 8. So you have this triple energy, right? That's going on, really forcing you to bring out your voice to contribute something to the world, right? Something authentic, something truly you. And that's how that would work. Now, if you're someone who has that gate defined, and maybe you also have the gate 1 defined, I think Joan has gate 1 defined. Now you have the definition from, ignore everything down below here, right? We're not talking about this part right now. We're just talking about this channel. Then you would have the whole channel of contribution enacted, right? So living out your purpose through what it is that you're contributing through your unique voice, your unique skills, your gems, right? Tom, did that make sense? And TD Hawk, oh wow, 2 rabbits hung out with me while I was doing things out in the yard and gardening this morning. Thank you for sharing this. Nice. Open channel 1, that would be a gate 1, open gate 1. So it doesn't have anything to connect up to unless you're around someone else who has the gate 1, which means, if Ainsley doesn't have the gate 1, then it might be other people that you hang out with, if you're working or if you're, out and about somewhere, that will help you make that contribution. And your contribution doesn't have to be like, I'm not talking a career or profession contribution. It could be you sitting, down and talking with someone, even on the phone or, through Zoom or something, and that person has the gate 1, and you're able to really contribute something to the conversation that really reflects the true you, right? So it can happen even though it's hanging gate, because it will happen when you're around others with the other side, with the gate 1. And yep, Julie has an open 8. Still waiting for the invites. Don't wait. You don't have to wait for invites, Tom. You you can reach out. Remember, the invitation can be it's like a door that swings 2 ways, right? What you can't do is just open your mouth and start gushing, right? That is not okay. But you could say, I have some insight I'd like to share with you. Are you open to hearing? Right? Is this a good time to talk about this subject? Because if that other person says yes, there's your invitation, right? You don't have to wait until someone says, Tom, I want to hear what you have to say. You know, call me, let's talk, right? You could actually do it in a sort of roundabout way, but you have to honor the answer coming from the other person or the other group. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, good. All right. So a quick reminder. I opened up the membership on Friday, and everybody is welcome to join. You have 30 days for free. And let me grab the link for that so that I can share that with all of you. And then once you join, you have access to everything in the membership that's available right now. And also, that means this week on Thursday, I have the live question and answer session, right? Where you can bring your questions to the session about your human design, gene keys, astrology, galactic astrology, core wound, transformation, Akashic records, all of the different things that I work with. You can bring those questions to that. And once you join, you have the Zoom link and the password to join that session on Thursday, which is at 12 noon Pacific. So that's 3 p.m. East Coast time, 7 p.m. if you're in the Universal time zone. Um, and if you can't make it live, which sometimes you can at least watch that later and see if other people's questions um, prompt something for you. Or I'm not sure how long I will be able to do this, but if you send me questions ahead of time, then I might be able to bring that up as well. All right. It just depends on how much can uh, come in. All right. So let me show this real quick on the screen. And let's draw a card. I know it's after 9, but I feel like a Healing the Inner Child oracle. I just love this deck. It's so colorful, right? Healing the Inner Child oracle by Nina Mongendry. Sorry, Nina, if I messed up your name. And let's see what this full moon card might look like. Bliss. It looks like bliss. 22. Ha, that's a great number. Bliss is the name of the card, and the 22, the master builder number. And let's see, 22. Oops, I passed it. There we go. So, oh my gosh, you guys, I'm not lying here. What does that say under bliss? Invitation. Gotta love it. Okay. Our essence is shimmering bliss. At the core of our being, we are all exactly like this child, immersed in energizing, ecstatic light and joy, surrounded by resources and allies just waiting to guide us and support us. We are inseparable from Source, and as such, our nature is unconditional love, knowing, and bliss. Experiencing and accepting this is our soul's journey as we move through time and space, clarifying the lens of our perception more and more with each encounter and experience we have. There's no rush for us to get there. There is no spiritual hierarchy, no final achievement or destination. Life is not to be achieved, it is to be lived. Amazing. In this way, children are our ultimate teachers, reminding us that outcome doesn't matter. What matters is the joy of the moment, the laughter, and the quality of our presence. This card invites you to simplify that. I can't even believe these words that are coming out. This card invites you to simplify and slow down as you consider the possibility that there is no better place to be than this exact moment. Remember, the sun is at the gate 23, simplicity in one of the Gene Keys, simplicity. All right. That is it for me today, guys. I also wanted to tell you that today I am adding to the membership and a discussion of where the full moon axis is and what it means to have it in the different houses of the chart. You can go and load that a little bit after the show ends here. All right, guys. Thanks very much. Take care. See you on Friday. Bye for now.